Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Rando Geek. So cool article here with some prepaid speed testing results from Ookla. Looks like we have Metro by T-Mobile topping the ranks for best prepaid provider in the United States. This is according to, again, speed testing by Ookla. This is the first time they're speed testing on the prepaid side, giving us more insights to how prepaid is doing for people that are using the app. Link for this article can be provided down for you in the description, and you guys can check it out on your own. I don't have the screen share up because I have a lot of things going on my screen right now, but I'm going to basically cover the results for you. And if you want to see the actual images, you can click on a link down below in the description just to verify all that information on your side. All right, so we're going to brush through this pretty quick, but basically, this is what T-Mobile and Metro by T-Mobile is being recognized for. All right, so they are basically getting credit for being the fastest prepaid network. They're saying download speeds are 1.3 times faster than the closest prepaid competitor with the fastest median upload speeds nationwide. Metro's median download speeds are even nearly 2 times faster than Verizon and AT&T. So ironically, they threw in some tests from both Verizon and AT&T postpaid into the category with these prepaid providers, and the results were actually shocking, and not in favor of who you think. You would think automatically Verizon and AT&T postpaid would have came out on top. That's not the case. Not the case against Metro, and not the case against some of the other prepaid providers as well. So interesting here. All right, next thing is they were basically given the award for fastest 5G prepaid network. So they're saying that, it's all in favor of Metro. All right, so let's cover this. Fastest prepaid 5G provider. Actually, let's go back. We're going to do fastest overall prepaid provider. That is 197.49 megabytes per second, favoring Metro by T-Mobile. Then we have Visible next up in the category at 101.32 megabytes per second. We have 144.14 megabytes per second for Boost, and then 95.25 megabytes per second. Now it's out of order, but the winners are basically in this lined up in this manner. It's Metro. Boost came in number 2. Visible is 3, and then Cricket came in 4th place for fastest overall prepaid provider, according to the Ookla speed tests. All right. Then they threw Verizon and AT&T postpaid in the mix. We had Verizon postpaid at 103.11 megabytes per second. Then we had 109.28 megabytes per second for AT&T. All right. Next up, we have fastest prepaid 5G provider. We have Metro coming in at number 1 with 217.1 megabytes per second. We have Boost coming in at number 2 with 162.95 megabytes per second. We have Visible coming in at number 3 with 148.93 megabytes per second. And then in 4th place, we have Cricket at 122.5 megabytes per second. Then they threw Verizon back in the mix. Verizon came in at 207.79 megabytes per second, and AT&T at 139.76 megabytes per second. So, it's funny because they have it listed as postpaid here. So it's kind of odd that these are the results we're seeing on average for Verizon and AT&T. So I'm not sure if they made some kind of mistake here and they actually meant to label it as prepaid, because that sounds to me more like prepaid speeds that you would get with Verizon and AT&T. But I'm looking through the article to see if there's any clarification of that. I don't. But just based off of those results, it sounds a little bit low to be on the postpaid side. But again, if they're saying that's the average based on, the cities that were kind of tested. So there's a couple of cities that it looks like they've tested. I don't know if there's any additional cities, but these are the ones that they've included. So we have Dallas, Fort Worth. All right. Metro came in at number 1 with 215.12 megabytes per second. Then we had Boost Mobile actually came in at number 2 with 194 megabytes per second. Cricket came in the third spot at 158.55 megabytes per second. Visible came in fourth place at 109.49 megabytes per second. So that's for the fastest 5G provider in Dallas-Fort Worth. All right, next up, we have Houston. Metro came in first place with 244.05 megabytes per second. Boost came in number 2 with 169.08 megabytes per second. Cricket in the third spot at 152.84 megabytes per second. And then lastly, Visible in number 4 spot at 109.91 megabytes per second. Then we have Los Angeles, super crowded city. So their results for best 5G are 242.79 megabytes per second for Metro coming in at number 1. Then we have Boost coming in at number 2 again at 173.28 megabytes per second. Cricket at 156.93 megabytes per second. And then in the fourth spot, 149.69 megabytes per second goes to Visible. Then we have New York. We have 199.43 megabytes per second for Metro by T-Mobile, another very crowded city. All right. And then we have Boost at number 2 with 158.52 megabytes per second. Visible actually came in the third spot here at 137.84 megabytes per second. And then Cricket in the fourth spot, last at 129.42 megabytes per second. So this is interesting testing here. Now, whether or not you guys consider Ookla to still be reliable, it's still interesting that they went ahead and did a prepaid wireless speed test category. I'm glad to see this for a number of reasons. One, it shows that prepaid is starting to get more respect and recognition. This is good for the consumer that doesn't really know that these options are out there. They don't think too much about it. They're so used to getting postpaid. They're so used to just getting whatever's available at their disposal, and they're not looking to see what other options are out there. When we see stuff like this happening, this type of news will show up on their news feed. If they have an Android, it's going to pop up on Android news. Same thing with an iPhone. This news will be pushed out there because this is something that's actually kind of will catch the eye of any technology enthusiast, to be honest. Everyone has a cell phone, and everyone has, most likely in the United States, one of these services, one way or another. Maybe not on the prepaid side, but they have at&t, Verizon, or T-Mobile, right? So for them to hear that there's other services from these carriers that will allow you to get on the same network as one of the big three, they may be shocked to hear that it's available or that it's so affordable that they wish they would have done it sooner. So that in itself, in a nutshell, is just great news and a good reason to even talk about this. And then also, very pleased with the results here. Very pleased to see Metro holding it down. I have to quickly add that, and for anyone that's been watching me for a while now, you will know that I'm very, very optimistic about Metro, and I rave about it all the time because I do think it's one of the greatest ways to get T-Mobile's network. It was even better before all the new Flex Plan updates. They kind of, watered it down a little bit and made it a little bit more annoying now, because now when you get a device, you have to get one of their more expensive plans, as where before they didn't really care about all that. So, little bit of setback, but still, when you break it down, it's a great service. Great service. When you reach that priority level of 35 gigabytes per second, like I've said a number of times, you don't feel it. It doesn't feel like there's any change. It almost feels like a true postpaid experience. And if you're on that $25 plan, it's off the hook. That's a plan for life. Don't let that plan go because it's too good to dismiss, right? I'm also interested that, I'm shocked actually, but very interested to see that Boost is holding it down, coming in at number 2 in pretty much every single category. Every speed test, every city that we're seeing here as a demonstration, they've been doing really well. So that's also good news to see. I expected a little bit more from Visible, to be honest, but still holding it down, still respectable, still decent. I'm gonna assume that it was probably Visible Basic that was, part of this category here, and not Visible Plus. So that's why we're probably seeing a little bit on the slower speeds. But overall, interesting stuff here. I do want to add before I wrap this up, there are certain things we have to consider. One, this is just Ookla. This isn't the law. This doesn't determine whether or not, you know, these carriers are truly better or worse. And it doesn't really determine like who's one, two, three, or four. These are just kind of results that were given by people that, were willing to test, that were okay with allowing Ookla to track their results and whatnot, and use this as, geographical data to help consumers try to find out what service works best in these areas in case they need service in that area. Maybe they're going to be moving, maybe you're moving from Dallas to New York or New York to Los Angeles, and you want to know what service really works best there. Seeing these types of reports can give you an idea of how your performance results might be. It's not guaranteed, but at least you'd have some idea. Now, it's always important to remember that when you choose a carrier, at the end of the day, it really is market specific. Just because New York or LA may say Metro by T-Mobile is the best, there are certain spots in these cities and states where you might find Visible or Verizon or at&t or Cricket might work better for you. So market specific, know your area, check the maps in your area, check where you'll be living, where you'll be doing business, going to school, whatever. That is how you determine what service you should really choose. Time of day matters, okay? If you're doing testing during a heavy congested time of day, where there's a lot of people that might be riding the network, your results may vary, right? You may not get the best results for that time of day. Priority data allotment is important. I think you guys, need to understand that with some carriers, when you reach that priority limit, it's devastating. It's horrible. It's almost like you have no service at all. And that will obviously affect the performance and give you poor results. And then just overall area congestion, right? If there's just a lot going on, there's a lot of networks around you being congested, sometimes it will just mess up the vibe there. And you're just not going to get the performance that you would get if you were testing at a park by yourself where there's no one around, or wherever it is that it's just basically you. So these are all things you have to consider. And then, of course, what plan feels right for you? What perks are you getting? Are you spending too much for it? These are all things as well. I want to throw that in there because, when we talk about these results, I don't want certain people to say, oh, well, Metro's number one, I'm going to dump Visible now, or I'm going to dump Boost because Metro is number one. Metro is great, but it may not be great for you. You need to make sure that if you choose it, that it works best for you where you are, and that all of it feels good for you. Personally, I think Metro is a great substitute for T-Mobile postpaid and prepaid. There's a lot of bang for dollar with them. There's a lot of bang for dollar with Visible. These are two companies that I rock daily. I talk about it all the time. There's no shame in it. The deals are off the hook, and I like them. And I talk about them because I like them. I'm not sponsored by anybody. And it's just how I feel about it, right? I think there's great value in those plans. You get a lot for your money, and that's how I feel about it. So overall, cool stuff here. I like hearing about these results, these test results, especially on the prepaid side. We need to hear more about prepaid and let consumers know what options they have, because there's a lot of people that don't even think about it. They don't think that, they know that prepaid exists, but they don't think it's going to be good enough for them. They think maybe they're too good for it. And they'll be shocked to see that the results are in many ways either the same and maybe even some cases better. You don't always get more for spending more, right? Sometimes you're getting ripped off, and you need to reevaluate that and figure out like if it's still worth getting ripped off over, right? Maybe you can save a couple dollars and get better service, better deals, better experience. As always, thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.